Hi, this is David at Mash IT, and welcome to our 1 month review of the Apple Silicon MacBook Pro. Now, we've already shot a couple of videos on this laptop already. Once on release, we've done an unboxing, a comparison with the Air, and a comparison with a couple of Windows laptops. But now we've been using it for a month, I wanted to come back with a video and let you know how we found this. Now, I've been using the Pro, and Gary's been using the Air, and these are our thoughts from the last month. Now, I just want to start off by saying, usually when it comes to a new laptop that comes out, everyone gets swept away with the hype. You see all the reviews, you see all the articles, all the marketing gumph, all of Apple's spiels, and you get sort of carried away with it all. You buy it, you get into it, and within a couple of days you realise it's not actually as great as you thought it was going to be, and you get that buyer's remorse. So I was very much expecting that sort of thing with this product. But I have to be honest, in the month that I've now used this, I've enjoyed it so much that I've actually sold my MacBook Pro 16 and I've moved solely to using this MacBook Pro as my laptop. It's been a fantastic experience and we're going to go over why. Now I'm going to start off with a couple of little negatives, because there are only a couple of little negatives, and then get those out of the way first, then we're going to talk about the positives, what I enjoy about using this machine. One of the biggest negatives I've had so far has been only having 2 ports on the left hand side, and of those 2 ports as well, I found transfer rates a little bit slower on the external SSDs than they are on the old Intel MacBook Pros. Now I'm not sure if this is something that Apple's going to be able to improve on, or if this is a limitation with the M1 Mac, but if I just do a quick disk test here on my Samsung T5, you'll see that I'm obviously getting lower read and writes than you would do on a normal system. Now normally you'll get about 500 megabytes per second. I'm only getting about 360 megabytes per second read and write. Now this isn't a showstopper. I don't really notice the difference in day-to-day use when I'm transferring files backward and forward. But obviously if you're used to using it at 500 megabytes per second, it's a bit odd to see it only benching at about 360. Now the other thing, obviously as we all know now from our original reviews and everyone else's reviews, we can only have one external display with this laptop. Personally, that hasn't been an issue for me. Very often I'm using this laptop for its actual internal screen. I'll sometimes go and dock it to my USB-C dock. It works flawlessly. But more often than not, what I will do with this laptop is I use Sidecar, and I use this quite regularly. So you can see here I've got my old iPad Pro 10.5 inch. I don't use the device very often, but it's been great since having this MacBook Pro. Because I've got less real estate than I had with the 16 inch, having this in Sidecar has been really useful. And what I'll often do is I'll be using Final Cut Pro and I will put in the viewer windows over onto the Sidecar display. And that has been really handy if you're obviously working with a limited screen space. Now you can use the internal screen, the Sidecar screen and an external display. And if I'm honest, that's more than enough for me, and I use these things regularly and I don't find the need for dual screens. I'll often have the MacBook Pro in front of me with the screen above and the Sidecar to the side, and that is more than enough and I'm ever going to use for my setup. Obviously, if you are absolutely desperate for multiple screens, your only choices are to buy an older MacBook Pro 16 or 13 with the Intel, or you can buy the Mac Mini, which allows 2 external displays. But obviously you haven't got the internal display of a laptop if you've got that option. Now, using this in my day-to-day, the thing I love about this Apple Silicon, and the thing that has obviously impressed me the most and changed the way that I use my laptop, is the fact that it's almost like when you use an iPad, it's always instantly on. And if I just demonstrate, when I lift the lid, it's straight on. There's no slow resuming from sleep or a couple of seconds or even a second. You open it and it's straight on, just like if you're opening an iPad. That's great. And that's one of the main features I'm loving, but also the fact that the battery life on this so far has been absolutely phenomenal. I mean, to the point where very often I won't charge it for 2 or 3 days, and I don't even have my charger on me all the time. I'll often leave this at home and just take it on the laptop, and I don't even bother. So what I'll often find I'm doing is in the bottom of my bag, I always have a USB-C charger, and I've always got one of these on my bag anyway for phones and other bits and pieces. And I just find that this is enough. Just plug this in. And we're charging. And because this is so frugal on power, an external battery pack, if you ever were running out of power, this will see you going for another few hours. It's been an absolutely revolutionary experience for me, because with Intel, I felt like I was always tied to a power outlet. Now, MacBooks have always been great for battery life, providing you're not doing anything very heavy on the MacBook. So if you're only replying to emails, surfing the web, watching a couple of videos, yeah, you'll get a day's use out of it. But if you're doing anything heavier, bit of video editing, playing a game, you need a power outlet. I will edit a movie on the Intel Macs, and by the time I've edited a movie and exported it, the battery's pretty much dead. Now with this, it's completely changed the way I work, because I'll just pick it up, I'll edit a movie, and then afterwards I'll still have tons of battery life and I'll crack on with my work and not even think about having to go grab the charger. Which brings me on to the next absolute plus point of using this over an Intel Mac. There's no real heat. And this is absolutely incredible. You can be playing games on this, you can be rendering a movie, you can be working in Unity or Blender or a 3D rendering application, and it is not, the fans aren't roaring, the keyboard isn't scorching, the system just runs along like it's nothing. And that is why it's changed for me, my use of this laptop. I'll happily pick this up and play a game on it, or I'll happily pick it up and edit a movie on the go. Now I wouldn't do that with the Intel, because with the Intel the fans got so noisy and the laptop got so hot on the keyboard and underneath that it would put me off doing it, to the point where I just think, oh, do you know what, I'll go and plug it into my monitor and do it on the desk. But now I'll happily do all that on this MacBook. It's really changed the way that I actually use a Mac. Now obviously you're going to be living the dongle life with this product. You've only got 2 ports, so a couple of dongles are absolutely necessary. A couple of dongles that I like to use that have been really useful for me is this one's quite nice, as it's so compact. I'll pop a link down in the description below, but basically this plugs straight onto the side of your MacBook and it gives you a load of extra ports and also includes the power delivery. So you can obviously plug your charger into here if you want to charge it, and then your USBs, your memory cards, and crack on working. So that's been very handy in the bottom of a bag. And also, because I do have a lot of USB devices, I'll often use this one. And again, it's got the USB power pass-through, which is handy, so you can charge it whilst using it. You've got HDMI and 3 USBs. I'll pop these in the descriptions below, just in case these might be useful for you as well. And also the same with the power bank that I use. I'll pop that down in the description. Now obviously again, because a lot of the time you're going to be wanting to be working on things on Bluetooth, I find for me the best mouse that I've come across for my productivity that I've been using so far is the Logitech. This is the MX Master 2. There's also now an MX Master 3, but I haven't got my hands on one yet. Now the reason this is so good is, firstly, they'll track on anything, which is amazing when you're using it with your Mac. You don't have to go and grab a mouse pad all the time. And secondly, the Logitech software is particularly good on a Mac. Now if you've had a lot of other mice, you'll realise that the software is often very poor on a Mac, but Logitech have done a really good job with their Logitech option software. So not only is the mouse particularly customisable, but you can also customise it to brightness, volume, launching with gestures. It can do all of it from this mouse. So if you're using this laptop itself, I definitely recommend something like this to go with it. There's also, if you prefer a smaller mouse, they do a MX Anywhere, which is a very smaller version of this. Now it loses some of the functionality, but again, it's still a very good mouse. So I'm going to pop the links for those down below as well. So the last thing that I say with these Macs, as you know, they're often not very upgradable. Now this is the 8GB and 256GB MacBook Pro base model, and that's all very well and fine, but obviously you're going to want some external storage. So definitely recommend picking yourself up. This is a Samsung T5, greatly priced on Amazon, links down below as well. But I've also got a SanDisk which I use, and they're both great drives and they're both reasonably priced, but it's a good way of extending your storage on your MacBook, especially if you are into video editing or something that takes up a lot of storage space. Now with regards to the 8GB of RAM, I really contemplated, did I want to just buy the base model with 8GB of RAM, or do I want to fork out the extra for the 16? Because we needed this fast for the review, I just bought it with 8, and I thought, do you know what, I'll probably send it back and get the 16GB later if I need to. But I've been so impressed with how this handles the memory that I actually haven't bothered. I've been running through my usual daily suites of software with no problem with just 8GB. So I'm guessing it handles the RAM a lot better than the Intel does, but it's certainly been fine, and I think for most people the 8GB will be fine. So I just want to sum this up now. We bought in a MacBook Pro and a MacBook Air. Now Gary used the MacBook Air, and I'm a bit jealous that I didn't buy that, I stupidly bought the Pro. I do love the Pro, but my thoughts still remain the same over the two, and obviously I bought this one now, it's fine. Gary's got the Air, he's happy with it. If I had my choice over again, I would definitely take the Air still over the Pro, just because I do prefer the shape, the wedge shape of the Air, and I prefer having full function keys. They're both fantastic laptops, they both work amazingly. A lot of people have messaged us saying, do they think the Pro's going to last longer because it's got the fan over the Air? And I'm just going to say it here because it saves me answering loads of people in the comments down below. The fan comes on so rarely with this laptop, it doesn't make that much of a difference, because on the Air, even when it throttles, it doesn't throttle that badly that it's ruins your performance like the Intel MacBook Airs of old. So when you're buying these, have a think about what you want most from the laptop. I think for an extra 300 odd pounds for the Pro over the Air, you've got to really want that touch bar, which I'm not a big fan of. Other than that, you've got a slightly brighter display. Apparently the speakers are better, but in my opinion, they sound pretty much the same. And the battery life is a little bit better on this, but we're talking about maybe an hour or so. It's really not that much. So I would still recommend, for most people, grab the Air. Now, I'm hoping that next year we're going to start seeing a MacBook Pro 16, because I do miss a little bit having that 16 screen size. But so with the sidecar, this has been more than adequate for me for now. This has been more than adequate for my uses for now. But obviously, when they do bring out, if they bring out a more powerful 16, then clearly we'll be getting one of those in as well. So those are our thoughts of the Apple Silicon processors that we've used for the last month. If you've got any comments or questions, please pop them down below. We hope you enjoyed this video, so please subscribe and hit notifications if you do. We will have more content coming soon. And thank you for watching.